You ever walk into a place that used to feel like home, but now everyone looks at you like you don't belong? That's exactly what happened to me when I came back to the small town where I grew up. The same land my grandfather left me. I'd been gone for years. Army service, college, jobs, life, you name it. But when I got the letter from the lawyer saying, "Mr. Carter, your grandfather's property is now legally yours," something inside me said, "Go home." So I did. I packed up my old Chevy, hit the road, and drove across 3 states, imagining the little farmhouse, the smell of pine trees, and the peaceful quiet of the lake nearby. I thought it'd be like coming home to comfort. But what I didn't know was, my land wasn't as peaceful as I remembered. When I got there was a new gated community sitting right on the edge of my property. Shiny houses, trimmed lawns, and rules plastered everywhere. I thought, wow, this place changed. But what really hit me was the sign right next to my driveway. My jaw dropped. That was my land, my grandfather's land. And that's when I first met Karen. Main story begins. She came storming out of her porch the second my tires hit the gravel. A middle-aged woman with a perfectly trimmed haircut, a clipboard in one hand and judgment in her eyes. "Excuse me?" she shouted. "This is private property. You can't just drive in here." I rolled down my window and tried to smile. "Ma'am, this is the Carter property. I grew up here." Her eyes squinted. "No, you didn't. This area belongs to the Oakwood HOA. You must be mistaken." "Mistaken?" I laughed, pulling out the folded deed I'd brought with me. "I don't think so. I just inherited it. The Carter land, all 40 acres of it." Her face went pale for half a second, but she quickly recovered. "That can't be right. This is a regulated neighborhood. You can't just show up and claim land." "I'm not claiming anything," I said calmly. "I own it." She crossed her arms. "Well, if you plan to stay here, you'll need to follow HOA regulations. No unapproved structures, no overnight parking, no animals outside, no—" I cut her off. "Lady, this isn't your HOA land. This is my family's property. And last I checked, you're actually the ones on my side of the fence." Her mouth dropped open. "Excuse me? That's absurd!" "Then maybe we should check the survey lines," I said, stepping out of the truck. The neighbors started peeking out their doors. Some whispering, some pretending to water plants just to listen. Karen's face turned red. "Sir, I'm going to call the HOA president." "You do that," I said. "I'll be unpacking." That night I set up a tent right beside the old barn, or what was left of it. The farmhouse was half fallen, the roof caved in, but the memories were still there. The wooden swing my grandpa built, the tree I carved my initials into when I was 10. It was home, and it was mine. The next morning I woke up to the sound of knocking, loud. Knocking. Karen again. This time with 2 more people. One of them had a suit and a clipboard. "Mr. Carter," the man said. "I'm the president of Oakwood HOA. We've reviewed your claims, and you're in violation of community rules by camping here." I rubbed my eyes. "Violation? On my land?" Karen spoke up. "We have property standards here. We can't have tents and old trucks ruining our neighborhood view." I stared at her for a moment. "You mean the neighborhood built over my grandfather's acres?" The president cleared his throat. "Technically, this community was developed under a misunderstanding of boundary lines, but we'll compensate you fairly if you agree to—" I raised my hand. "Stop, you're telling me your fancy HOA built part of their neighborhood on my land, and now you want to buy me out?" Karen smirked. "That's right. It's the simplest solution for everyone." I looked around, the lawns, the houses, the fences. My blood boiled. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not selling. I'm rebuilding." Her smile vanished. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. I'm going to rebuild my grandfather's farmhouse right here. You can keep your HOA rules off my property." Karen's voice rose an octave. "You can't do that." "It'll lower property values." I grinned. "Guess that's not my problem, neighbor." That was the day everything changed, because from that moment on, Karen made it her mission to make my life hell. Filing complaints, calling the sheriff, even trying to block my driveway. But what she didn't know was that the land survey would soon prove she was the one trespassing. And when it did, I'd become her landlord. If I thought Karen's first outburst was bad, the next few weeks proved I hadn't seen anything yet. The moment I refused to sell, she went full throttle. Daily visits, notes on my truck, letters on my half-built fence, and violation warnings stuck to my barn like she thought she was the sheriff of my own land. Every morning, I'd find a new notice that said things like, unapproved construction, remove immediately, eyesore detected, repair within 48 hours, unauthorized vehicle on property. I'd laugh every time. Unauthorized vehicle? It's my truck on my property, I'd mutter, crumpling the paper. But one morning, things got real. I was laying the foundation for my new cabin, just a small wooden one-room home to get started, and when a white SUV pulled up, out stepped a county inspector, clipboard in hand. "Morning," he said, looking uneasy. "I got a call about illegal construction?" I sighed. "Let me guess. Someone named Karen?" He chuckled awkwardly. "Yeah, HOA president said there might be a zoning issue." I handed him my deed. "This is private, inherited property. No HOA jurisdiction. I already confirmed with the county office." He glanced at the papers and nodded. "Looks legit to me." Then he looked back toward the neighborhood, where I could clearly see Karen standing behind her trimmed hedge with binocule. The inspector smirked. "You've got quite the audience." "Oh, that's Karen. She's basically the self-appointed queen of Oakwood," I said dryly. He laughed. "Good luck, buddy." And with that, he left, confirming once again that I was in the right. But to Karen, being right didn't matter. She wanted control. That afternoon, I walked over to the HOA office, fancy little building at the entrance of the neighborhood. The sign read Oakwood Estates, managed by Harmony Living HOA. The irony of that name almost made me laugh. I stepped inside. The receptionist froze when she saw me. Can I help you?" "Yeah," I said calmly. "I'm here about the harassment coming from one of your members, Karen Walters." Her eyes widened. "Oh, Mrs. Walters, she's very involved." "I can tell," I said. "She's filed fake reports, trespassed, and even blocked my driveway with trash bins. I need it to stop." Before she could answer, the door behind her opened. And there she was. Karen herself, clipboard in hand, face tight with anger. "Mr. Carter!" she snapped. "You have no right barging in here." "Funny," I said. "I was just about to say the same thing about you. To my land." Her nostrils flared. "You're disrupting the peace of our neighborhood." "Your neighborhood is sitting on stolen ground," I replied, leaning in. "And I'm giving you fair warning. When the new survey is done, we'll see whose property line that shiny fence really sits on." Her face went pale, but she tried to hold her authority. "You'll regret this." "I doubt it," I said with a smirk, walking past her. "See you around, neighbor." Over the next few days, things got quiet. Too quiet. No papers, no shouting, no new violations. But I could feel her watching. Every hammer I hit, every board I cut, and she was there, lurking behind her curtains. Then one night, I woke up to the sound of tires crunching on gravel. Headlights swept across my property. I stepped out with my flashlight. A couple of teenagers were spray painting my fence. "Stay off HOA land," one of the tags said. "Hey!" I shouted, and they bolted. I knew who sent them. That was the last straw. The next morning, I called up the county assessor's office and requested a boundary resurvey. The clerk told me it might take a few weeks, but I paid extra to expedite it. By the time the surveyors arrived, word had spread around Oakwood. Neighbors peeked out of their doors again, some curious, some clearly rooting for me, others whispering like it was a scandal. Karen, of course, came marching over. "What is this circus?" I smiled. "Just confirming what's mine." "You're wasting your money," she said smugly. "We have official HOA maps." "Yeah," I said, "maps drawn by the same developer who built over my fence line." The surveyor, a calm old man named Jim, looked at both of us and said, "Let's see what the facts say." For the next few hours, they walked around with equipment, flags and laser markers. Karen followed them the entire time, arms crossed, muttering under her breath. Finally, Jim came back, holding his clipboard. "Well," he said, "Mr. Carter, looks like your deed's right on the dot. But there's a complication," Karen's smirk returned. "I knew it," Jim continued. "About 6 of these houses, including yours, ma'am, are built about 15 feet onto Mr. Carter's land. The world went silent. Karen's mouth dropped open. What? That's impossible! Jim shook his head. Afraid not. Looks like a survey error from when the development was built. Happens more often than you'd think. I folded my arms. So what does that mean legally? He hesitated. Technically, it means you're entitled to reclaim that land or lease it out. Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. Lease it? You mean... That's right, I said, my voice calm but firm. If you want to stay where you are, you'll be renting from me. She stammered. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. She stormed off, red-faced, muttering something about calling lawyers. But no matter how much she fought it, the county records didn't lie. Within a week, the HOA board contacted me, asking for a meeting to discuss options. I could tell they were desperate to make the problem go away quietly. I agreed, but I had one condition. The meeting had to happen on my property. So there they were, the HOA president, 2 board members, and Karen, glaring daggers, sitting across from me on folding chairs by my half-built cabin. The president cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, we'd like to make an offer to purchase the encroached land at fair market value. Karen leaned forward. Or you could just forgive it. Be a good neighbor, I laughed. After you called inspectors, harassed me, and sent kids to vandalize my fence? Yeah, no thanks. The president sighed. So what do you want? I leaned back in my chair. Simple. You can lease the land from me. Annual rent, standard contract. Or, if you'd rather not pay, you can move those fences back where they belong. Karen exploded. That's extortion! I looked her dead in the eye. No, Karen, that's ownership. The meeting ended with a lot of shouting, mostly from her. But the decision was made. The HOA's lawyer would draw up lease terms. As they left, Karen stopped halfway down my driveway, turned around and pointed her finger at me. You'll regret this, Carter. I'll make sure of it. I smiled calmly. You already tried, Karen. Didn't work. That night, I sat on the porch of my half-built cabin, looking at the stars. I thought about my grandfather, the man who taught me to stand up for what's right. For the first time in years, I felt proud. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Karen wasn't the type to go down quietly. And she was about to find out that I wasn't the type to back down either. It's funny how power shifts when the truth comes out. Just a month earlier, Karen was the queen of Oakwood. She barked order, handed out fines, and walked her tiny white dog like she owned the world. Now, every time she saw me, she looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. And honestly, I didn't even have to do anything. The truth was doing all the work for me. After the new land survey became official, the county records were updated. Black and white proof that a chunk of the HOA's perfect neighborhood sat right on my inherited property. The local news even caught wind of it. HOA builds on private land by mistake. Owner refuses to sell. The headline spread fast, and suddenly, everyone in town knew that Karen's dream home wasn't exactly hers. Neighbors started whispering. Some folks laughed behind her back. Others came to me quietly, saying things like, Man, we never liked the way she bossed everyone around. She even fined my kid for having a basketball hoop. Yeah, Karen had built herself quite a reputation, and now it was crumbling. The lease meeting. A week later, the HOA lawyer called to finalize the land lease agreement. I sat at my cabin's porch table, watching the sun dip behind the trees as the lawyer, the HOA president, and Karen arrived. Karen refused to sit. She stood with her arms crossed, her face tight as stone. Let's get this over with, she muttered. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, as agreed, Oakwood HOA will pay annual rent for the portion of land encroaching on your deed. The lease term is 10 years, renewable. All terms are legal and binding. I nodded, flipping through the papers slowly, just to make her sweat a little. Then I looked up and smiled. You know, this all could have been avoided if someone had just treated me like a neighbor instead of a problem. Karen glared. You're doing this out of spite. No, I said calmly. I'm doing this out of principle. She scoffed. You're not a landlord. You're just some guy who got lucky with a deed. I leaned forward. You're right. I was just some guy. But now, technically, I'm your landlord. Her face went red. The HOA president coughed awkwardly, and the lawyer quickly signed the papers before things got ugly. Karen snatched the copy, muttering, This isn't over. Oh, it's over, I said, smiling. It's just different now. The sweet irony. Over the next few weeks, life got a lot quieter. No more inspectors. No more fake warnings. Just the sound of hammers and saws as I rebuilt the old farmhouse. Exactly how my grandfather would have wanted it. Sometimes I'd catch Karen driving by slowly, staring daggers from her SUV. Other times I'd see her walking her dog along the property line, pretending she wasn't furious. But one morning, she came right up to the fence, the new one. I built exactly where the survey said my land started. She stood there, clutching her dog's leash, and said, "You're really proud of yourself, aren't you?" I looked up from my work and smiled. "You have no idea." She frowned. "You humiliated me. Everyone in the neighborhood thinks I am a fool." I dropped my hammer and walked closer. "Karen, I didn't make you a fool. You did that when you tried to bully me off my own land." For a moment, I saw something change in her eyes, maybe regret, maybe anger. Hard to tell. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I just wanted peace and order. This neighborhood used to be perfect until you came back." I took a deep breath and said softly, "Karen, you can't build peace on stolen ground." She looked away. "Maybe not." Then she turned and walked off without another word. Winter rolled in. The farmhouse was done, cozy, warm, and full of life again. I had restored every inch with my own hands. Meanwhile, Karen had changed too. She stopped shouting at neighbors. She even waved at me once awkwardly from her car. Turns out the HOA eventually voted her out as president. Too many people were tired of her rules. The new president, a kind woman named Lisa, actually came over with cookies to thank me for handling things with patience. Funny thing, I told her. Patience wasn't really my strong suit until I met Karen. We both laughed. Then, one afternoon, I got a knock on my door. It was Karen. She looked nervous, holding an envelope. "This is for you," she said quietly. Inside was a check. Payment for the first year's rent under the lease. "On time," I said with a grin. "Didn't expect that." She sighed. "A deal's a deal. Guess you really are my landlord." I smiled. "Guess so." She hesitated, then said, "You know, maybe I misjudged you. You're not what I expected." "Neither are you," I said honestly. "Under all that HOA armor, you're probably just someone who likes things neat and fair." She almost smiled. "Maybe. Just don't expect me to bake cookies for you." "I'll survive," I said, shaking her hand. And just like that, it ended. No drama, no shouting, just closure. Sometimes, life has a funny way of setting things right. I didn't come back to fight anyone. I came back to reclaim what was mine. But along the way, I learned something my grandfather used to say. Respect isn't about power. It's about standing your ground with grace. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted justice. And in the end, justice felt a whole lot sweeter than payback ever could. Now every time I sit on my porch, watching the sunset over the land that's been in my family for generations, I feel proud. Because this time, no HOA, no Karen, no clipboard can take it away. If you loved this story, hit like, drop a comment about what you'd have done in my place, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life revenge stories. That'll make you say, "Justice served." Would you like me to create a YouTube-style voiceover script version next, with pauses, emotion cues, and pacing for a narrator? It would be perfect if you plan to use this story in a video. You'd think the story ended when Karen signed that lease check and finally walked off my porch. I thought so too. But life has this way of testing whether you really learned the lesson you bragged about. 6 quiet months passed. The farmhouse stood strong through winter, smoke curling from the chimney, the lake frozen like glass. I felt settled for the first time in years. Then one morning, a county envelope landed in my mailbox. Inside were survey maps, again. Turns out the state planned to widen the county road that bordered my land. And part of that project ran straight through the HOA entrance. I chuckled. "Here we go again," I said to myself. The next day, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Lisa, the new HOA president. And to my surprise, Karen. She looked different. No clipboard, no attitude, just calm. Lisa smiled nervously. "Hey, Carter, we heard about the county project. They say they need an easement that runs through your land, and well, the HOA gate." I nodded. "Yeah, I already spoke with the engineer. They'll need temporary access." Karen stepped forward. We wanted to ask if you'd be willing to meet with them. Together. The word together caught me off guard. I studied her face. Still proud, but softer somehow. Sure, I said. Let's handle it right this time. The meeting. A week later, the county engineer rolled out blueprints on my porch table. Karen and Lisa sat beside me. He pointed to the map. We can either reroute the road or create a shared access lane. But we'll need permission from the landowner. That's you, Mr. Carter. I leaned back. What's in it for the neighborhood? Karen spoke before anyone else. Less traffic noise, better drainage, safer entry. It actually helps everyone. It was strange hearing her sound reasonable, even kind of cooperative. The engineer added, We'll compensate you for the easement, of course. I smiled. Tell you what, if we're doing this, I want it clean. No confusion about property lines ever again. Everything gets resurveyed and recorded, publicly. Karen nodded. Agreed. And just like that, we shook hands. No shouting. No lawyers. No drama. When the construction started, the noise echoed through the valley. Trucks, asphalt, dust, chaos for weeks. But instead of fighting, the neighborhood worked with me. Karen even came by with coffee for the crew one morning. I raised an eyebrow. Coffee from you? She smirked. Don't get used to it. It's just for peacekeeping. Peacekeeping's fine by me, I said, smiling back. Maybe people really can change. When the project finished, the road curved beautifully through the hills. The new sign at the entrance read, I laughed when I saw it. Karen caught me. What? She said. Respect, huh? She shrugged. Figured it was about time we practiced what we preach. For the first time since I'd met her, I believed she meant it. One evening, while cleaning the old barn, I found an envelope tucked inside my grandfather's tool chest. It was yellowed and brittle. Inside was a note written in his shaky handwriting. Son, if you ever come back to this land, remember, it's not the fences that protect it. It's the way you treat the people around it. I smiled. Maybe that was the final lesson all along. A few weeks later, Lisa stopped by again. Hey, Carter, she said, holding a folder. The HOA board voted to dissolve. We're transitioning Oakwood into independent properties. My eyebrows lifted. No HOA? You serious? Dead serious, she laughed. People realize they don't need someone policing their mailboxes. I looked over her shoulder. Karen was in her yard, painting her fence, my fence, bright white. She caught my eye and waved. I waved back. Funny how things turn out. The woman who once tried to drive me off my land was now living peacefully on it, with me as her landlord, and a better neighbor than ever. Now the farmhouse stands strong. The lake glitters in the sun, and every time I drive past the old Oakwood sign, I smile. Not because I won, but because we all finally did. It's crazy how standing your ground can turn enemies into allies. Sometimes the real revenge is just living well and letting the world see it. If you enjoyed how this story came full circle, hit like, drop a comment about what you think Karen's next move should be, and subscribe for more real-life revenge and redemption. Stories that prove, sometimes karma, doesn't just knock, it builds a house next door.